I'm not cancer. I'm a person. Cancer just like destroys your personality. It destroys who you are.
Arelly is a mom of 3 with an aggressive diagnosis, stomach cancer.
My biggest fears were surrounded around me not being able to take care of my children, something happening to me, and me not being able to be there for my kids.
She found out in early 2024.
I still don't feel like myself. And I'm in like the midst of like, figuring out who I am now, accepting what my situation is now.
It's a balance, being a mom and a wife with stage 4 cancer.
I just do my best to spend quality time with them, all of them, so that they just have that, and like the pictures and stuff, yes, they're going to be there, but I want them to remember me, and I want them to remember that when I was okay.
But some days are harder, especially for her oldest daughter.
She was like, Mom, she's like, I wish you didn't have cancer. And so I'll just look at her and I say, me too, baby. I have treatment every 3 weeks. So I know like the first week I'll be okay. And then like the second week, I know it's like my worst week. So, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to have like a few days. So we'll plan things around the good days.
It helps to have an incredible partner like her husband.
My husband's been the 100% caretaker. I like admire him so much because through this all, like he's taking care of our children for us, the diaper changes, everything, all while like his wife is dying. And I have to stop sometimes and tell myself that I have to ask him, like, how are you feeling? Like, because he doesn't really get a break, and everybody needs a break. We'll utilize like good days too to spend time together because we have our relationship, to, a marriage, to nurture our marriage as well, not just as parents but as individuals. When the kids are asleep, we'll talk about how is this life even real? Like, are we like does it just doesn't seem real still? And I can look back to that moment, and I'm sitting in a hospital bed, in pain, and there's like 15 people in white coats, and they're all talking to me, and I'm like tuning them out because I know what they're saying, but I'm also tuning them out because I'm not, it's a lot to process.
At first, Arelly's second pregnancy and a gallbladder surgery masked her cancer, but her third pregnancy helped reveal it.
So they do NIPTs testing, which is basically genetic testing to make sure the baby's okay. And they, obviously everybody thinks it's the gender reveal, but it's not. They check other things. I did it like 2 times and it came back inconclusive. And I talked to the genetic counselor about it. And I looked back, and then at the bottom of the test, it said they concluded that they couldn't get any genetic information for the baby because there was something in the mom's DNA that was impeding it from happening. And of course, I went into Google and I started like getting into like reading other people's experiences about why their NIPT results would come back inconclusive, and went into that rabbit hole. And that's kind of when I was like, is there something going on with me?
That's when it clicked. Arelly had other symptoms.
The most prominent symptom that I would say was fatigue, extreme fatigue. And then there was one occasion where I had blood in my stool, and I thought that was hemorrhoids because you're pregnant. So you're like, oh, that's hemorrhoids. And besides that, I can't really pinpoint anything else crazy.
Then,
out of nowhere, I had a mass that was protruding out of my umbilical area. And I kept bringing it up to like at my OB appointment, and they were like, you know what, we can't really do anything right now because you're pregnant. It may be a hernia. We're not sure. And then they would just check it. And then as my stomach continued to grow, the growth of my stomach pushed the tumor out.
It took multiple emergency room visits for someone to take Arelly seriously.
I know my body. I know what's normal and what's not. Please listen. So it's important to just just keep repeating yourself. It's so sad. It's as basic as repetition. Like, this is not right. This is not right. Please, like, look into this. What test can I take? Or, I don't feel this is normal. This isn't my normal. Like, using those type of phrases. And just, at that point, I was just like, look at this. This isn't normal. It was like a 15 centimeter mass. They told us that it was a malignant tumor.
This was the beginning of life with cancer for Arelly.
As a society, we have a perception that a cancer patient should look a certain way, and I defy all those boxes, I guess, because I'm like, heavy set woman, and like I didn't, like I said, I had my hair, and then I started this other treatment that, like, with the first infusion, I lost all my hair, and that, I think, yeah, that's when it really hit me. Your hair's your identity, and you don't ever get used to not having hair. Um, you look at yourself, and it's not just that. Chemo makes you really tired. So your skin changes. You look at, like, I'll look at a picture of me when I'm pregnant, and I'm like, wow, like, I see that glow, and then I look at myself now. Like, right now, I'm wearing makeup, and my husband will be like, "Why are you putting?" I'm like, I don't want to feel like I'm dead.
It hasn't just been about the physical transformation, though.
I've never been angry. I remind myself of that, so I give myself grace. I'm not like, oh, I'm so angry that this is happening to me. I do get sad. And so I recognize when I get sad, I pull myself out of those things. Um, and I just keep going. And one thing that I try to avoid is thinking about death and how it's going to happen. And because in the beginning, I worried about it a lot because it was a shock. And once I've let go of those emotions, and I make it like a conscious decision to not have those thoughts, I have better days, more quality days. And you have cancer, but you can also still be happy, have happy days. And when I have happy days, I recognize them, and I thank God for them, and that's what you hope for.
What has also helped? Finding community.
At first you just feel lost. You're confused. You don't know where to go, and the resources are there. I found a lot of online support through, groups, Debbie's Dream Foundation, Hope for Stomach Cancer, and then there's like a sister group that I'm a part of that, they have stomach cancer as well, and it's just, I learned a lot. We've lost a lot of people, so it does become hard because they become your family. But through that, we have perspectives of caregivers, we have patients, we have survivors, we have people like me who, have a terminal diagnosis. We have real people. I have related a lot to, especially those that have young children like myself. And so that's been very important, because not every cancer patient is going through the same thing in life as you are.
Every moment in Arelly's journey has brought her closer to herself.
Because you're lost, you're searching, and you're like, well, I have cancer, and so I'm trying to really pull away from that in the last, few months, and saying, like, I was more than cancer, actually, like, grasping that I'm not who I used to be, who I am, and trying to focus on that. But also, I'm in the hospital like 3 times a week, things like that. So when I'm like being the patient, I'm like, okay, I'm a patient right now. And then I'll go home, and then like I'll have a conversation with my sister. Like, we'll be texting, and then we'll kind of get into the cancer stuff. And then I'll be like, you know what? I don't want to talk about the cancer today. You only have one life to live, and time is your biggest asset. And so spend it wisely. Spend it on the things you love, things that love you back. Spend it on the people that matter. Recognize when something's not for you, move on from it. And I think being more forgiving to yourself. I can look back at my life, and people will talk about having regrets. I don't see my mistakes as mistakes. I see them as learning. I learned, I moved on from it. I feel like I've forgiven myself for a lot. I realized that whatever mistakes I made is not who I am today. And I think that the most beautiful thing in this world that you could do is be kind and spread love.
As a thyroid cancer survivor myself, Arelly, thank you so much for sharing your story. If this story was inspiring to you, we've queued up another one for you here, a playlist here, and please make sure you subscribe here to join the Patient Story community. And always remember, you're not alone.